Hey guys, it's Matt. Today we're going to look at the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States as one of the biggest stuffed Lennons or Humpty Dumptys that exists. We'll go over, for anybody that's new, what a stuffed Lennon or a Humpty Dumpty is and how it proves a fake or at least managed world, a world managed by assholes. Now let's look at some of these pictures and images they give us right here, explaining what the Thanksgiving holiday is supposed to be all about. And folks, I'm sensing fake presentation. I know the Notnilc rarely does this to us, but we'll get to the bottom of it. You and me, we're going to be one. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to research this together. So they tell us what it's 1600 and something. These settlers, what are they? These the pilgrims. They come over in your Pinta, your Nina, your Santa Maria. That's Columbus from the Ponce de Leon video a few back. The pilgrims, they came over in your Mayflower and you broke bread with the Native Americans. We'll get right to the bottom. What's the fake tribe that's being okay, well, let's take it one step at a time. What's she offering these Native Americans? I can't even say the other name. Some sort of shepherd's pie. We'll research it. I don't even know. Where did these pilgrims come from? They from Ireland? That's why I just watched Gangs of New York again, the Irish hordes coming off the ships. And you're there, Bill, throwing pavers at each one. Is she offering them shepherd's pie? And then the Indian didn't say, good trade. I'm sorry, it's just a habit. The Native American said, you got liquor. This is probably the true meaning of Thanksgiving, folks. It's a sick Notnilc joke. The first time alcohol and liquor. I'm not even joking. You know, this is how they do business. They have their own meaning. It's a Humpty Dumpty in Alice in Wonderland. The Notnilc says Thanksgiving means what we say it means behind closed doors at the Eyes Wide Shut party. They're not going to tell us. They're going to say, oh, the settlers and the pilgrims broke bread. And then when they laugh in their Eyes Wide Shut, that's when we gave them the alcohol. The first one came back the next day and said, you got brown liquor? And then that's where the addiction came from. And then they also introduced the white man diseases and it's the corona and the colds and all that shit. That's what the Notnilc really means by Thanksgiving. They're never going to tell us. We have to get to the bottom of it ourselves. 60 seconds or less explaining to anybody new what a Humpty Dumpty or a stuffed Lennon is. Just like No Child Left Behind, this is No Truther Left Behind. Humpty Dumpty is the prime example because this ridiculous little rhyme, the legend and lore of Humpty Dumpty, should have been forgotten about maybe the next day after whoever created it. There are thousands of things in this world that are artificially carried forward by reality itself, in many cases by the Notnilc, by the assholes, because it has to be carried. Many times there's a positive spiritual message, other times it's carried forward for different reasons. But either way, these Humpty Dumptys, and they exist all over society today, should have been forgotten about hundreds of years ago. They're not good enough to survive the centuries. The fact that they still exist is just another symptom of a fake world. If anybody's new, sorry, I can't go into it in any more detail. You just have to hang with us for a few months. Now, I just asked Google and its friend, the AI overview, what is considered to be the first Thanksgiving, and this is what was returned. 1621 was the Pilgrims/Puritans. We'll look at them in just a moment. And if there are any Pilgrims or Puritans or the ghosts of listening to me, I don't mean to confuse this. I'm sure some of you, in a very difficult manner, made your way over here to the New World, and you suffered, and I don't want to in any way make fun of that. I don't in any way want to disparage if you were trying to escape legitimate religious prosecution or persecution. I don't know which one the word is. I'm sorry, but they used you, Notnilc used you to create this Thanksgiving holiday, and we'll talk about the reason behind all of these false holiday presentations. In no way am I disparaging those that came over and actually suffered. Let's get that straight. I don't need to be haunted by any more ghosts that already haunt me. I don't need any more entities standing in the light, right, Bill? So let's see what it says. 1621, they played ball games, sang, and danced. Okay, we have to stop right here. Remember we talk about the reality giveaway where the reality, especially through things like Wikipedia, gives too many details, makes a false presentation with little tiny details and nuances that it would never, ever know. So the first time any Pilgrims or Puritans met with Indian or Native American tribes, how would they know what happened? They played ball games, sang, and danced. In every case, somehow these details are just magically carried through time. We talked about this phenomenon just recently in the Ponce de Leon video, where there was a segment of history where, in a confrontation with natives, they said we confiscated 5 canoes or 5 Arawak wooden warships. And I said, how would that possibly, that detail, how would that possibly be carried through time? Somebody even commented and said, well, Matt, as the captain of the ship, he would have made notes. Even if he made notes in a perfect diary and wrote in those notes, they confiscated wooden canoes. Like, why would he even care about that? But how did that diary how was it saved? It was then given to the academic authorities in Spain, and somehow that made its way to academia around the world. How it's impossible. It's remote. But the reality giveaway is it happens too often. Just back-to-back examples. Every single time you dive into something, reality, the Notnilc, gives details that would no way have been carried through time. So again, somebody would have to have the exact diary of the people who were there in the original Thanksgiving to know they played ball games, sang, danced. Sorry for the big sidebar. It's just a good example as to a very common way reality gives itself away. Too many details. Although prayers and thanks were probably offered at the 1621 Harvest That's a Harvest Festival in Las Vegas. I got to stop again. I'm sorry. Although prayers and thanks were probably offered, Notnilc, hello. This is a group that is escaping religious persecution, coming to the New World. They define themselves through their religion and their worship of their God. Should we say grace? Fuck it. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. We've got these natives here. We ain't going to say grace because these natives don't believe in the same gods. Fuck it. They would have obviously said grace. Probably. AI Overview, you have a lot of work to do, my friend. The first recorded religious Thanksgiving Day in Plymouth happened 2 years later in 1623. Like, what? Well, what makes it the first recorded religious Thanksgiving? Just because they happened to build a structure? Is the church built? No, it's not official. Well, maybe they built the Cathedral of Cologne. This is ridiculous, AI Overview. On this occasion, the colonists gave thanks to God for rain. Oh, I can relate to that. I did that last week when we finally got our first drops here in Pennsylvania after 2.5 months. AI Overview, who were the Pilgrims? They were originally from the town of Scrooby in Nottinghamshire, England. Scrooby. Has anybody ever heard of that? Outside, somebody from England will comment, I've heard of it. I live in Sandwich. I expect that you've heard of it. I'm talking to people in the United States and Australia. They don't say screw you in Scrooby. They say Scrooby you. Nottinghamshire. I just watched Robin Hood, the Sheriff of Nottinghamshire. They were originally a group of religious separatists who fled England in 1608 to escape persecution. See, Matt, it's not prosecution. It's a separate word. I'm sorry. We learned together for their beliefs. The Pilgrims were Calvinist dissidents who wanted a more democratic and direct religious experience than the Anglican Church. Anglican? I know Anglo-Saxon and all that. I just never seen it put like that. Anglican. Finger licking good. What the hell is that word? They believe they should be able... Hey, AI Overview. Use words that people actually use. They should be able to choose their own church leaders and ministers. Well, that's a fair request. They got persecuted for that. Hey, we want to be able to choose our own church leaders. Hey, sit down. You don't choose. I choose. I understand why they had to leave. And again, one last time, I respect these people. Basically, these people were trying to get away from Notnilc. They were the first practitioners of Notnilc free zone. I'm not in any way running these people down. They're my heroes. Okay, we have a good picture now as to what's going on. These Puritans, these Calvinists, the Pilgrims, they felt they had to get away. Want to get away from persecution? Yeah, they had to leave Notnilc. They had to leave behind that to basically form the first Notnilc free zone. Is that mentioned in the official history of Thanksgiving? I don't think so. Somebody went to Mid-Journey or something and said, AI, show me George Soros as a witch. And how many times have people done, show me Larry Silverfish as a hell demon? That would be the only reason I would ever be interested, Bill, in using these AI image programs. I won't, Bill. I'm just kidding. I'm staying away from them. Hey, look at this. This is from archives.gov. They would never lie to anybody. This engraving gives the mistaken impression that the Mayflower voyagers, known as pilgrims, discovered unsettled land to colonize. Wow, they're not actually being truthful for the first time. No, Matt, this is another manipulation. Yeah, I think so. In reality, they came ashore on Wampanoag Island. That's the native tribe that apparently is responsible for or involved in the first Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims were not the first Europeans with whom the Wampanoag, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, they deserve more respect than those that reside in Washington, D.C. They're not the first Europeans they had contact with. And oh, come on, some tribe members already spoke English. Yeah, like John Dunbar's friend, good trade. That doesn't mean he speaks English just because he can say 1G. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I don't want to tell the story again. 1G, 1G. That's not speaking English. Sorry, two words ain't speaking English. And Kevin Costner, he learned Tatanka. Tatanka, he learned that. Does that mean he speaks Sioux? No. Tribal leaders were wary of the English, as they should be, but nevertheless formed an alliance. That was a mistake with the colonists for strategic purposes. Yeah, the white man lied. Who's enemy? Who's your enemy? You want brown liquor? I got liquor. I got sugar, coffee grinds, brown liquor. Oh, what was it? The Pawnee was from Dance with Wolves. The Pawnee, the Pawnee waged war on the Wampanoag too. Wait, just like Kevin Costner says, one gun makes two warriors. You can always get these people to do deals based on the false sense of security. They're doing that right now to us through the Pentagon. They also shared knowledge about hunting and planting that saved the Pilgrims from starvation and made the 1621 Harvest Festival celebration Las Vegas possible. All right, let's quickly do the identical, same model car, same model tire. So we remember 1621, roughly 50 Pilgrims and Puritans had some sort of a festival or meal with roughly 90 Wampanoag. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Roughly 90 of them, roughly 50 white people, some way broke bread together, had a meal together to celebrate the successful harvest of 1621. It goes on to say that the first Thanksgiving story emphasizes a peaceful exchange between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag, yet seldom includes this Native American perspective. As all history doesn't. It also rarely acknowledges that peace was short-lived. Oh, here we go again with this same repeating script. Peace was short-lived. Within a generation. What? Within 2 months. Usually, it says here, within a generation, war would erupt, and the Wampanoag would ultimately lose their political independence and lose much of their territory, as they all do. This is one of the reasons why Thanksgiving for some Native Americans is not a celebration, but a painful reminder of the devastating impact of European colonization on indigenous people. I'm with you. This, to me, is a big Notnilc joke. I'm with you. This poem attributed to Alan K. We're not going to read no poem. Sorry, I'm skipping this. Of course. Native Americans, and when they serve the gobbler at Wawa, like it's a big hoagie, which is it's a Subway sandwich that we call a hoagie here in Philadelphia. It has cranberry stuffing. It has well, I don't think it's real meat. It's damn good. It's hot. Any Native American, you throw that gobbler right back at the person that prepared your sandwich at Wawa. I wouldn't take one bite of it if I were you. Personally, I enjoy it. One quick point of clarification, guys, when I go, oh boy, or oh no, regarding the repeating themes and scripts of reality, I'm not saying it's fake, not at all. People really suffer. People really go into Notnilc cooked up wars. There's real death over here. There's real suffering and famine over here. It's not all the first grade truther just yells fake. I didn't mean to imply, oh, here's the repeating script again. It's all fake. No, I'm sure the Wampanoag really did go to war. But when you back up and look at it or look down at it from 100,000 feet, the scripts are too repetitive. It exposes itself as an artificial, crafted, fake world. Every single time we've done a Notnilc travel tours, where part of us looking at that country or region or jurisdiction where there was a colonial landing party 300 or 400 years ago. Every single time we've done this in Notnilc travel tours, there's a whole segment on the persecution of the indigenous and the wars and all the death that the colonial landing parties brought to the indigenous. And I'm not saying it didn't really happen. It happens too often, though, in the same exact way to be a real world. I'm sorry. Even if there was really death. I hope this isn't confusing people. To me, you can have real death in a war and say the entire reality is crafted and fake. To me, they are not mutually exclusive. They can go together. So every time we've looked at the Great Man Explorer series, of which we just finished with Ponce de Leon, it's always the same repeating scripts. Maybe there really was a guy named Ponce de Leon, maybe there wasn't. But if they persecuted and killed off the indigenous, it would not surprise me, because it always plays out that way. Guys, I went back to the archives.gov site. I saw this again. We have to just spend a minute here. This is too funny. I'm sorry. The middle line, I read it already, but pilgrims were not the first Europeans with whom the Wampanoag had contact, and some tribe members already spoke English. I know I already made fun of it, but this is ridiculous. You think the tribe members in 1620 spoke? I mean, come on. Already spoke English. How would that even work? Some nice family took in some young people from the Wampanoag tribe. They would have no understanding or basis for the alphabet. Come on, I mean, yeah, okay. So this group of settlers just landed, and they've heard about the Wampanoag, and just like in Dances with Wolves, how many white people will be coming? Kicking Bird asks, and then John Dunbar says, like the stars. So the boats just kept coming, and then, they encountered some Wampanoag in the cornfield, and they just stood there looking at each other. Well, they can't understand us. What do we do? And one of them said, we can understand you. Hi, dudes. We speak English. Oh, sure. This painting or fresco used in the book The First Thanksgiving probably depicts what really happened, but unsaid or not mentioned by the book's authors. Mommy, look, here comes the entire tribe. We invited them years ago, but that doesn't apply today. We don't have a lot of food. How many are coming? About 90 of them? Oh, shit. No, here come those indigenous motherfuckers. All we got is this lobster in a pot. We can't. Well, what happens if they get angry and we can't feed them, Mommy? Well, at least they speak English. Hi, dudes. Back to archives.gov. A holiday is made. That's right. A star is born. A holiday is made up. We've talked about this before. The holidays are so strategically placed just to get the proletariat and the great unwashed and the workforce just long enough working and producing to get them to that other holiday. They're perfectly strategically placed so the workforce can just get that day off when they need it. It's nothing more than that. It's managing livestock, but maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. Thanksgiving today may have little connection with the Plymouth Harvest Festival 400 years ago, or no connection, but it has a long history nevertheless. Originally a regional observance in colonial New England, Thanksgiving began as a solemn affair rather than a day of feasting. It was a day for fasting and quiet reflection. Maybe that's how I'm hearing you. That's how Notnilc does business. It will 179.5 degrees bastardize something and break it down from it and destroy the original intention. I hear you if you just talk to me in real time. So maybe it was a day for, this actually makes more sense. Fasting and quiet reflection, Matt, allows one to connect to what some New Age assholes would call the universe, which in some way initiates a wake-up process. What's the opposite of that? Stuffing your gullet with as much food as possible. I once listened to a radio show in the morning 15 or 20 years ago. It was on the radio, and the guy, it was the regular DJ in the morning. All these stupid radio shows in the morning somehow still exist. He was telling people, and he was very serious about it, how to stretch your stomach out in the morning so you can eat as much as possible later in the afternoon with your family at Thanksgiving. He's like, First thing in the morning, 7 a.m. Now, I hope nobody takes this advice. You have like 5 eggs, bread, eat as much as possible at really early as possible, 6:30, 7 in the morning. Go back to bed if you have to. Stuff your gut with breakfast foods. Then when do you normally eat? Oh, around 4 with the family? You've stretched out your stomach. He had a whole technique. Then you can have 3 or 4 helpings when grandma serves that dead turkey. I'm not even joking. So this actually makes a lot of sense. It started as a day of fasting and quiet reflection, which allows people in some way to start to wake up. It can't have that. Continuing to read, bottom paragraph. Eventually, the states and the federal government proclaimed days of Thanksgiving at irregular intervals. There's the identical. That's the key, folks. Irregular dates and intervals. But it wasn't until the mid-19th century, after decades of lobbying by magazine editor Sarah Josepha Hale. Who named you? Who's that? What's that middle word? Josepha. Part 1 is Jose, and the last part's Puh. I don't know what that name is, but maybe that's just me. That a national Thanksgiving holiday began to be established. Oh, let me get this straight. Oh, you're from Davenport. You're really smart. You say that you really believe a magazine editor changed the landscape of life in the United States by lobbying Congress. Sure. Yeah, magazine editor Sarah Hale. I can't pronounce the middle name. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have a national Thanksgiving holiday that all the states. Oh, sure. Yeah, and if you don't believe that, you're just one of those people. As the holiday took root in the United States, so did the need for a distinctly American origin story. And the Harvest Festival 2 centuries earlier was remade as the first Thanksgiving. That sentence, this is from archives.gov, it just told you it's all made up to manage the crop of workers. They just admitted what we've been toying with for years. First Thanksgiving, quote, end quote. While Thanksgiving continues to evolve as each generation of Americans brings new meaning to the day and how it's celebrated, the tradition of coming together to share a meal and reflect on all that we're grateful for endures. Oh, take that flowery language and throw it out. You just said you made up the holiday to manage a proletariat 1984 workforce. Then you put some flowery language to make us all feel good. I see through your ruse, your cunning attempt to trick us. Look at this, a presidential precedent. The federal Thanksgiving holiday has its roots in one of the country's bitterest moments of division, the Civil War. On October 3rd, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued this Thanksgiving Day proclamation to help unite a war-weary nation. What? Let's look at the back end of that. He was trying to help unite a war-weary nation. That don't make no sense because he was trying to kill off half of it. Unite? You trying to unite everybody? You trying to kill everybody? And what's with these proclamations? He's in the Emancipation Proclamation, Thanksgiving Day Proclamation. What's next? Lincoln, well, that was the Gettysburg Address. That didn't have the word proclamation in it. Sorry. Lincoln was not the first president to issue a Thanksgiving proclamation. There it is again. But his order to set a precedent to observe the last Thursday of November next as the Thanksgiving every year for decades to follow. The Mandela affected people would be very interested in this. The last Thursday of November next. Mandela affected people remember the third Thursday in November, and so do I, but it's not an anchor effect. The last 5 or 6 or 7 times I went up to my aunt's in Lancaster, we went back for Christmas to the same exact address that we had just been there for Thanksgiving. And all of us said, it seems like we were just together. We were, just 4 weeks later, then back to the same address with the same family for Christmas. It just seemed too soon. Now, would that 1 week have made a gigantic difference? This is not an anchor effect for me, but the third Thursday is much more in line with what I expect or remember. But I don't want to lose subscribers by turning this into a Mandela effect conversation. That's just reserved for lunatics and crazy people. And of course, this was several years before CV. Whatever family get-togethers existed were completely and utterly destroyed via CV. And, it was 20 years ago. There was a lot of living family members that got together and did things on holidays. And as a kid, it was awfully nice. But of course, the Notnilc has destroyed that in my family and yours and pretty much everybody else's. Look at this that the archives.gov has a little bleed over from an old reality or something that muddies the waters a bit regarding the people that believe it was the third Thursday. A Western Union telegram, I guess from a family member to FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Congratulations on your reelection. What's that, your 10th term? When shall we serve our Thanksgiving turkey, the 21st or the 28th? Now I'll keep this image up and read to you what it says here. In 1939, the last Thursday in November fell on the last day of the month. Concerned that the shortened holiday shopping season might dampen the nation's economic recovery from the Great Depression, President FDR issued a presidential proclamation moving Thanksgiving to the second to last Thursday of November. 16 states refused to accept the change, and for the next 2 years, Thanksgiving was celebrated on 2 different days. To end the confusion, Congress passed a law in 1941 establishing the fourth Thursday in November as the federal Thanksgiving Day holiday. This is so strange. We could do a whole video just in this one paragraph. First, I'll address the objections. See, Matt, that's what you Mandela-affected nuts. You remember that there was some confusion. No, it's our own experience. See, the law here says 1941. We're basing it on what we remember as kids in our own experience. But I'm old, but I wasn't alive in 1941. So the objector, oh, that's what you're being confused with, Matt. You Mandela people always get confused like this. That has nothing to do with it. Okay, let's leave the argument aside. Matt, you're always arguing with someone that's not there. So the person that's not there can't defend themselves. It's true. In 1939, the last Thursday in November, from the concerned that the shortened holiday shopping season might dampen the nation's economic recovery from the Great Depression, FDR issued a proclamation moving Thanksgiving to the second to last Thursday or the third Thursday in November. So let me get this straight. The entire nation's economic recovery from the Great Depression, which basically strung out over 10 years, is going to hinge on 1 week of shopping. Oh, sure. History is such a joke, an absolute joke, that they present this stuff and ask us to believe it. That 1 week's going to make a difference. It's like the groundhog seeing its shadow again. 20 more years of depression if we don't get that extra week of shopping in. 16 states refuse to accept the change. That doesn't make any sense. Let's just say then it was more fluid. If the president and the executive staff and people looked up to FDR, already had a lot of power, a lot of clout. People believed in these bullshit offices back in the day. If they proclaimed 6 months out that this is Thanksgiving, then that would be Thanksgiving. That would be the end of it. 16 states. I mean, think how ridiculous this is, guys. If it was fluid, you would just wait for the president to declare when the day is going to be, and everyone would prepare for it 6 months before. 16 states refused. Oh, Texas, I'm not doing that. Pennsylvania, Ohio. Let's get together. We're not going to do that. Oh, come on. Who would refuse? This is such bullshit. And if it really happened, and it may and probably really happened, that exposes a fake world. People are not the same as you, or they're NPCs, or on their frequency or download. In 1930, whatever, who would refuse the date that the president put forth? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, 16 states refused. Over the next 2 years, Thanksgiving was celebrated in 2 different ways. Come on. To end the confusion, so we need Congress. Maybe it is, Matt, 16 states did refuse, but that was part of the act, part of the play. They were told to. Either way, that's fake world too, but I hear you. That could have been part of the act. To end the confusion, Congress has to save the day and pass a law establishing that the fourth Tuesday in November is now the federal Thanksgiving holiday. Matt, that's what you Mandela people remember. No, I wasn't alive then, but let's move on. Actually, going back 30 seconds, I have to insert this. Sorry. It's this sort of thing that actually leads to more credibility for the Mandela-affected people. Because they remember that reality bleeds in a way. This is in some way a residual. In some way, this actually strengthens the Mandela-affected people's point, if that is one of your anchors, the third Thursday instead of the last. Oh boy, look at the very bottom here. I mean, what a fake world. banner image. The archives.gov is trying to explain what the banner image is. I'll show you guys. There is no banner image. Photograph of President Obama, his daughters, and Jihad Douglas at the, you got to be kidding me, at the Turkey pardon ceremony, November 25th, 2015, National Archives. He's with Jihad Douglas, y'all, Jihad. Y'all know what that word means. So the name that is representative of everything that they've pushed on this country in terms of all the BS since 2001 job application that carried through the Obama administration about all the teism threats around the world. He goes to the Turkey pardoning ceremony. Oh, that's so cutesy. We're going to let one live. They probably run it over with a bus during their Eyes Wide Shut party. He goes with Jihad Douglas. So that's a description of the banner image. I assure you there's no banner image. I want to see what Obama looked like standing there before the turkeys with Jihad Douglas. It's not there. How weird is that? I had to do a little digging. It's not at that website, but it's on another website. President Barack Obama and daughters Sasha and Malia participate in the annual National Thanksgiving Turkey Pardon Ceremony in the Rose Garden. National Turkey Federation chairman joins him, Jihad Douglas. Jihad Douglas is the National Turkey Federation chairman. So let me get this straight. The guy who's in the business of killing turkeys is named Jihad Douglas. Matt, that's a sick Notnilc joke. It may be. This reality is a strange place. Reality, if you're listening, you have derailed, my friend. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Matt, reality didn't hold up to close scrutiny again? No, it didn't. Can you believe it? It was the first time it ever happened. The first time when we looked into something closely, the reality and what it was presenting didn't make sense. There was no common sense. It wasn't a cohesive whole. This is the first time this ever happened. Look at this image here. Anybody interested in this, you can buy it. Reenactment of First Thanksgiving by Bettman. Can't find a better man. $77 they went for this piece of shit. Oh, it's in stock. Great. They're going to send you, what are those fungible things that you get the damn digital? You don't get a real thing. Look at the two Native Americans standing off to the right. They said, what the hell did we, if this was real, if this was a real image, say traveling back in time, the special Vatican camera that can travel through time and take pictures, that real Vatican device everybody believes in, the two natives on the right would be, what the hell did we get ourselves into with these dreadful white people? Yeah, they should have really literally just completely all joined together, but what they wouldn't have known back then. They didn't all have John Dunbar advising them. How many will be coming? Like the stars. They didn't know. We didn't know what was coming. And we're the same, basically the same stock from basically the same litter. In the body we are. We're different spiritual beings than these assholes. In the body, we're the same. We didn't know how everything would break down. I mean, if they would have known better, they would have all got together. Said we had to stop fighting amongst ourselves. The Sioux against the Pawnee and Magua, but that's a different movie. Magua, that was Last of the Mohicans. We got to get back to Kentucky. That's different. They would have all got together and said, we might not be able to defeat these devils coming on the shores and they're needing the Pintas and the Santa Marias and the Mayflowers, but we need to hold our own. Let's carve out, say, Washington and Oregon as ours. And we won't ever have casinos, and we will make this ours. That's what they should have done. But how would they have known? The Peter Stuyvesants of the world have been lying to these people for roughly 350 years. I'm sorry, Native Americans, but I will give you a pass, and I think most people listening to this will give you a pass. How could you have known? How could you have been expected to have known what was coming? But as it turned out, it was not a good trade. It was not a good trade at all. You helped many of these colonists and people that were coming off the boats. You helped them initially, in many cases, get a lay of the land or learn basic farming and what animals to hunt and what plants are toxic. These are the stories. And then the white man eventually went to war with you. And if it wasn't that, he called you in, say, for lunch. And he said, "You a good trade?" No, no, it was a good trade the first 5 weeks, but now, just like Darth Vader said to Lando Calrissian, I'm changing the terms. Pray I don't change them further. And that once they got established, they didn't need the Native American anymore. And the man said to the native chiefs and tribal chiefs and the great 10 bears, said, "We're going to take a little land." And they said, "You could have a little land. What do you need another acre or two to farm?" "No, we need all the land out to the Mississippi, and we're going to take it." "Well, that's not just my tribe. That's this tribe, that tribe, that tribe. Oh, I don't care. We're going to take it. And if we have to push you people back to Tijuana, we're going to do so." Yeah, I'm sorry, it was not a good trade. Not at all. I feel for you, Native Americans. What came at you is what we noticed today as Notnilc. And we'll end here on this image with a conclusion. This video dove into the details or the roots of what Thanksgiving is supposed to be. And as usual, what it is, or more importantly, what it means to them, the Notnilc, may not be what the masses are told it is, may not be what the little kids are coloring in their coloring book before they take the pictures home to mom before Thanksgiving. And it gets worse for the Native American because they established the National Day of Thanksgiving, which was referenced earlier in this video, does kind of remind Native Americans of, what happened and the eventual slide in terms of things getting very bad for them. But it might be even worse than that. I mean, what Thanksgiving means to Notnilc may be, far more sinister. Thanksgiving to them could be the day they decided to screw y'all over. As Joe Biden said, put y'all back in chains. It might be something far more sinister to Notnilc. All I know is these holidays are complete fabrications. For many people, it's nice to get the day off of work, but don't take it any more seriously than that. Don't take the Notnilc meaning of it into your heart. For God's sake, no. How many families today? Well, we're going to go around the table here and everybody's going to say what they're thankful for. No, that's giving it over your energy. It's like, I'm thankful that the damn Chevy started this morning and I haven't had to take it into the shop. I mean, people go around and say some stupid shit. No. Hey, you know what? It's nice to have a day off. Other than that, I ain't celebrating no Thanksgiving. I ain't celebrating nothing that Notnilc tells me to. The rule of opposites. Thanks for listening.